Well, welcome back to the Driving Itch. I'm Cameron, and today we're doing a brake job on the S550. So today we're going to be putting on a set of EBC pads and rotors. We went with the blue stuff pads, shown here. They are literally painted blue, and they're ginormous. I'm sure there are bigger ones out there, but hey, I think they're big. And then we're going to be also installing a set of EBC ginormous rotors. These are slotted and dotted. Yeah. Oh yeah, and we're going to change the oil. Your oil pan and drain pan under the car. You slide up underneath there and crack the bolt on front. I like to get my car a little warmed up. Oh, well, before I do this, just help get all the oil out. Ooh, that's hotter than your mom on prom night. Eep. One thing to note is these Mustangs take 8 quarts of oil. So I usually just buy 2 of the 5 quarts because it's 30 for 30. If you get it on sale, and you get 2 filters. So just save you some money, get you a filter for the next time. And then you have 2 quarts toward your next oil change. So, cheapest way to do it. That's the drain plug. So now I'm going to crack the oil filler thingy. So some of the other things you'll need to do your oil change is a oil filter. I like the K&Ns because they got the little nut on the bottom of them. It just makes it easy to change. And K&N's supposed to be a good brand, but yeah, I highly doubt I'd run this at 20,000 miles for protection. We stick to that 3,000 to 4,000 mile range here, and then change it after every track day. Then you'll need a little 5W20. My car's higher mileage, so I run high mileage full synthetic. Motor oil, all 8 quarts. Looks like the oil drain is getting close to being fully drained, so we'll do that. Swap the oil filter in, pre-fill it, put it in, fill her up, call it a day. All right, this will give you a good idea of what we've been working with. So the oil is about drained into our pan here. You can see where the oil hole is, and under the car. And all you do is take your plug and stick it back in. Pretty simple. Alright guys, the next thing on our list to swap is our oil filter, which is right here on the side of the block. So you just pull this up, and get your oil filter wrench and twist that back off. Alright, one thing I like to do before I put a filter back in is one, you always want to peel off that plastic stuff up top. And then I like to pre-fill my filters. So the final step to an oil change is putting oil back in the motor. It's the most important step. Don't forget to do it. Otherwise, you'll be buying a new motor and your life will suck. Hey, but you won't make that mistake again, I'm pretty sure. Some of the best lessons we learn are from when we screw up. Because you really don't forget. All right, let's give this a shot. Eight quarts of oil in. And now it's time for dinner. See y'all in a bit. Alright y'all, I've not changed a lot of these Brembo style brakes before, but on these type of multi-piston calipers you usually punch these out. And then a clip comes off, but it looks like they have a bolt here as well to hold them in place. doing here is using the C-clamps to compress the pistons back in, just to make my life easier later on. There we go. This brake pad really doesn't look too bad. I'm not really sure if it's a brand of any kind. They're Ford factory pads. All right. Might resell those on Facebook. Never use a small hammer to do a big hammer's job. All right, rotor's off. Now that you got the rotor on, you want to put your caliper back into place. Line up the bolts. Bob's your uncle.
Clean them out now while the pads are out.
No.
Pads all. I was gonna say you'd brake clean. Use some brake clean and a rag.
Look at them nice Ford blue pads. It's very fitting.
Yeah, with red letter calipers.
All right, come on. You know you want to go in the hole.
Did you push the piston out again?
Yeah.
The pistons following directions. Or advice, right?
What did the Lord always say when it comes to that? Focus on the what in your eye first.
Hey, I followed your advice yesterday with the valve cover.
What was that?
What?
What was that advice?
Huh?
What advice did you follow with the valve cover?
How to do it?
Oh, did it work for you?
Yeah, I think so.
Sometimes you just gotta do, and you did. Ain't that right?
Dude, I was having the hardest time trying to make sure that oil dipstick was lined up. I eventually just put the dipstick in and then put it down the tube.
Yeah.
And then just let it line itself up.
Yeah. I'm glad you did it. You definitely learned a lot, didn't you? And time to do the back brakes. Should be easy, but it's a Ford, so it's not. Instead of a compression piston inside of this, we'll have to use a specific tool to push it back in. And the caliper bracket bolts are extremely tight, as we learned when we did the other side, so we don't look too stupid on camera. Not saying that helped, but we'll get it knocked out. It's a total of 4 bolts and some pads, and I make it sound a lot easier than it is because those caliper bracket bolts are torqued to 129 foot-pounds. It's a real tight space to try and hit that into. Here we go. I think these are the original rotors on this thing. These are very difficult to get out. Oh yeah, just as tight as the other side. All right, y'all, as we can see, we got it done. Last night after I got done with that last shot, I went out and bedded the pads and rotors together. It's basically a series of stopping and going. You can look up the specific specs that you need for each of your different sets. I always recommend doing this, otherwise you won't have good braking performance for a while and may reduce the longevity of your pads and rotors. Very happy with the improvement. I've made a lot of mods to this and haven't done a breakdown of what it's like to drive yet. My wife and I are planning to go to the mountains later this week, so we'll do one then. But this is kind of construction building up to that. I will say the pedal feels much better. There's a more consistent brake bite and it's not overly aggressive. It feels very balanced. So I'm excited to give it a ride up in the mountains and see what happens. All right, well, next on our list, we're gonna jump inside and put in a weighted shift knob, and that'll be the end of the mods I have right now for the S550, and we'll go do a driving impression later this week. All right, y'all, here's our Billet Works shift knob. I picked it up a while ago. I really like the packaging they send it in. I'm not sponsored by any of the parts people that I'm installing. I purchased these in my own power. This is a weighted shift knob. I've always liked the white cue ball shifter look. So excited to get that on there. I've always wanted to do a weighted shift knob before. Nice little hot boy mod. So let me get this on and we can go from there. First thing you usually want to do, according to the internet, is twist the old knob off. There it goes. It's actually got a good weight to it from the factory. But this one has a little bit of wear on it, so it'll be nice to get something new on it. So you'll need a 18 and a 19 millimeter sockets, and that's so you can set your lock nut and new threaded doodad. I don't really know what to call a lot of stuff, so I call it doodad, but here you go. So first you want to spin the lock nut all the way down to the bottom. All right, once it's there, you're going to want to thread this doodad on till it meets at the bottom. I'm going to do this. And twist it on. The question is, are we going to hit this correct from the first try? Oh, we're 180 degrees off, but I do like the way that looks. Oh yeah, that shifts way better. There it is, about damn time. All right, let's get that. All right, and it's installed. There it is, all set up, nice and centered. Can't wait to go drive it when it's not pouring rain outside. Alright guys, I like to end every video with a little devotional, so here's how we'll finish up this week. We'll be in 2 Corinthians and Matthew. Chapter 10, verses 4 and 5. For the weapons of warfare are not of flesh, but have divine power to destroy strongholds. We destroy arguments and every lofty opinion raised against the knowledge of God, and take every thought captive to obey Christ. Those are some very powerful verses. In our society, we all really struggle with depression, anxiety, different things in society we struggle with. And these verses are great, especially when we struggle inside. Understanding the thoughts we have are often not our own and are of the enemy tempting us. So how do we battle this? How do we battle this in prayer? Well, in Matthew 4, Jesus gives us a prime example of this. When he is tempted by the devil. And the devil tempts him several times. Here are the verses. Then Jesus was led by the Spirit in the wilderness to be tempted by the devil. And after fasting 40 days and 40 nights, he was hungry. And the tempter came and said to him, "If you are the Son of God, command these stones to become loaves." So Jesus was hungry at this point. He had been in the desert for 40 days and 40 nights. And he knew he was not to eat but continue fasting. So what is that for us? When are we going through a gluttonous state or struggling with greed and we want to overeat or overindulge or be really greedy with our finances? Well, Jesus gives a really good reply here. And here's how we should think of it, and why it's important to be in the Word and know the Word is because when the enemy tempts us or puts these thoughts in our heads or these thoughts come across our mind of self-harm or whatever, knowing the Word to be able to combat the enemy, as we discussed in 2 Corinthians, are so important. So listen, here's how Jesus replies. Jesus replies very simply. He says, "It is written, man shall not live by bread alone, but by every word that comes from the mouth of God." And that is the first one he brings up. So as you face each of these temptations, remember daily the truth in Scripture God has given you to combat the lies of the enemy he tells you. So every time you face that negative thought in your mind, return in prayer with what God's true word, or in his word, what God's true word is, as you've been in Scripture and learned it. Commit some of those Scriptures to heart. I encourage you in that. And see the difference it makes in your own mental health, as I've seen it in mine, as I've had to face my own battles. All right, thank y'all, and I hope you have a great rest of your week.